So, and welcome everybody to our my brand new stream. I don't know how much people are going to get in because I didn't announce the stream. Yeah, I didn't announce it or anything like that. So yeah, maybe get some viewers or something, I don't know. Kinda wondering what we might get. So yeah, the purpose of this stream would be to somewhat discuss random car topics and stuff like that, and yeah, just talk about it in general, just keeping in mind that everybody has different opinions and stuff like that, and eventually, yeah, just having a good time talking about things we like, cars and stuff. And yeah, so yeah, it's actually just like kinda, I'm just kinda wondering if even people are going to come here, or just like even knowing that I'm streaming, because I don't know. I haven't, as I said earlier, I haven't announced any of it or anything like that. So I don't know if people are even just watching this back. I'm currently working on some projects. As you can see here, I have multiple tabs opened and stuff like that. I'm currently working on multiple videos. One of them is, well, actually most of them are about Opel. Yeah, and actually just like most of the videos that I want to be making are kind of redirected at you guys. So I don't know if guys, if people are watching this back or anything like that. Just you can always just like tell me in the comments what you want to see, and yeah, I can do research to a certain object and stuff, and yeah, kinda see if I can find enough of it or anything like that, and just make a video about it. Yeah, so that's actually the purpose. Okay, so we're live. Yeah, okay, we're live. Okay, so then I'm just going to make the best out of it, I guess, and kind of wait until people come. So yeah, maybe I could just like show you guys some ways of how I make my videos. So this is my file in which I make all my videos. I write just whole text down before I even start to edit and stuff, and then after that I just record myself just telling the whole story of it. Most of the information I find comes from the English Wikipedia and the German Wikipedia, and also Dutch, and also French sometimes, yeah. And yeah, then I write a story about that, and after that that story is written, I just put it in my just my editing software, and yeah, kinda just work my way around. Just when I'm talking about a certain subject, I make I post a video or a photo underneath, and that's kind of like the whole purpose of what I've been doing to edit the videos. So yeah, actually still no viewers sadly, but yeah, that's not like anything we can do about it. It's not the end of the world. So yeah, I currently have not a Vauxhall, but an Opel Vectra. I'm planning on making videos about that as well soon. Let me just see if I can maybe see a bit more on the YouTube side of the streaming thing. Okay, so as you can see, we are live. Yeah, I don't have high expectations of this actually, because as I said earlier, I haven't had this whole thing planned and stuff like that, and it's kind of like, oh okay, just maybe do it for the future and stuff. Okay, so I'm going to put this, wait 1 second, I'm going to put this here, and let me just see if I can maybe put on another, yeah, just a thumbnail or something. So yeah, this is just a general discussion of the stream. It's just mainly for the purpose that we could discuss things about cars or anything car related, or maybe even not car related. It's not really anything that goes beyond what's capable for the stream. So yeah, I'm actually kind of waiting for some people right now to join and eventually just have a discussion with each other. So currently I'm just, I don't know, just wandering around on Wikipedia. That's mostly what I do to some way get experience and ideas for videos that I made. And yeah, I see that we have 1 viewer. Hello viewer, I don't know if you can even hear me. It's so yeah, that's currently what I've been doing. I've been wandering Wikipedia, making videos, writing stories about it, then recording myself, just telling the whole stories that I've written, and just make videos about it. And as you can see over here, if we go to my recent videos, I have around here I started to go more in depth with the videos, and I'm actually really just happy with the results. Although sometimes I just sometimes I just want it to be with like thousands of views and stuff, but I know that that just have to grow. That it doesn't just like go like that in a second. But as you can see here, while my other reviews would have had like 60 to 160 views, the other videos get like much more views. And the most recent video was this one, which actually came kinda out of nowhere, because I was actually just wandering around Wikipedia like I just told you guys, and then I found out that Opel had a car that wasn't even known about, because if we go to Wikipedia and then we, for example, type in the Opel Regent, the video or the car that the video was about, we can see that it's like a really small Wikipedia page with little to no information. Also, you can see that it's like not even a whole web page, and yeah, that's where like most of my interest came from. So then I went to the German Wikipedia, which is this one, for example, not the Diplomat version then, but just Opel Regent, as you can see here. And then you have a bit more, but still not just a bit more than just a web page. And yeah, then after that I just started to search the web, and actually in my opinion, this is the most interesting video I've made so far. I know I have only made like, I don't know, 3 videos of these. I have actually made stories and told the stories for the Opel Olymp or the Opel Rekord P1 and P2 as well. However, my phone, I think I've posted that on YouTube as well. My phone broke, which led to the point that I couldn't use those voiceovers, and so I had to just send the voiceovers via email and stuff to my other video, or to my other phone, sorry. So now I'm kind of just like trying to figure out how I could download that, because I'm always editing and working on my iPad and stuff. So yeah, the most upcoming video of the Opel Rekord series will be about the P1, which is also kind of interesting. It isn't that interesting if you compare it to Olympia or the Olympia Rekord, because that has, in my opinion, the Olympia actually has the most interesting history so far. And personally, I don't really like the part where Opel was mainly affected by the American style, for example, from the Chevy and stuff like that. Of course, it is an interesting fact and part about Opel, because it was bought by GM in 1929, if I remember correctly, which is also told in my other video. So it's not deniable or even something you can work without when you're thinking about, oh, well, how is Opel capable of being influenced by, I don't know, by American brands, for example. It's because of that, because it really was a part of an American brand for up to 2017, I think. So that's like 88 years. And the other video I've worked on was the Rekord P2. And what's actually kinda, in my opinion, just weird to see is that currently we have cars that have like production spans of at least 4 or 5 years. And that back in the day, as you can see with the Olympia P1, the Rekord P1, it was only 3 years, and I guess with like the Olympia Rekord it was kind of okay, like 4 years again. And there's also like after the Rekord A, it's like made 2 years. Like people designed this vehicle for only a lasting period of 2 years here. In March it was introduced in 63, yeah. And in August 65 it was already replaced. So that's, in my opinion, kinda that I think, well, how was that possible back in the day, and how are car manufacturers now just so convinced that cars have to be made at least such time periods. For example, in my opinion, Opel, for example, the Insignia, if we go to that, and then the Wikipedia, well, sadly the Insignia isn't made anymore, but I guess the A without the facelift was made for 5 years, and then if you kinda compare it with the Rekord Series A, it was only made for 2 years. So just imagine that after 2 years Opel had to redesign the whole Insignia to just fit to the standard of the interest of people, and just upgrade their engines and stuff like that, and do multiple things to just get in touch with people and just still have an interest with people. And then if we get any further, you can see, oh, okay, so even 1 year, you know, it's just even getting worse and worse with only time period, and that actually led to even led to cars that were even more rare today, because they were only made for a year. And even though I haven't already read all of the pages, in my opinion it is one of the most interesting facts about the, I don't know, like the Rekord, the whole history line, or the whole history of the Rekord, is that for a long time they've used the 1.5 liter engine, which they still used here in the Rekord Series B, which was almost made 30 years after the introduction of the original Olympia Rekord. That they've used that engine for so long, mainly because of the tax that was on bigger engines from Germany after the Second World War. And for example, the Opel Blitz had an engine from, I believe the capacity was 2.6 liters, which still even made like 60 horsepower or something. But it even led to just a ban for something that was so big. And I guess, if I remember correctly, that was for the the Olympia? Yeah, only the Olympia. And as you can see, they've like really always used the 1.5 liter engine. As you can see, we're in the Rekord Series C, which is like almost 30 years after. And only like in the Rekord Series D, after, I don't know, 35 years, they've replaced the 1.5 liter with the 1.7 liter. But yeah, eventually the Rekord led to the Rekord E, which was made up until 1986, when actually the car was replaced by the Opel Mega. In my opinion, also the smaller Kadett had an influence on this. But I wouldn't say that it was a direct successor, because the Kadett was also produced up until 1991 for the normal versions, such as the Cabrio, such as the hatchback and the limousine and the station wagon, and I believe up till 1993 for the Cabriolet and stuff like that. And I could tell you something about the video I'm working on right now. It's about the Opel KAD-line or KAD-line, I don't know. It's mainly, I sometimes struggle with the pronunciation because of the words or the names just being in German, such as this. It's the video that I'm making currently is about one of these models, and mainly focused actually on this one as the KAD-line, and it's mainly just about Opel's participation in the luxury segment during Opel's lifetime, and just like the losing battle with the luxury segment, why people even bother to buy Opels anymore and stuff like that, and eventually Opel actually left the segment. And it's mainly just because of that. And currently I have 2 parts made for that, because it's actually such a big story. As you can see here, from page 4 up until page 9, it's just all a story. And I guess that it's going to be around, each part is going to be twice the length of the most recent video about the Opel Regent. Oh, I see we have 2 viewers. I would like to just say hi to them. Hello viewers. If you have any questions or anything cars related or any other topic, you could always ask me. I think I'll be going to do this for another half an hour, I think. I'm not sure on like what the time period is for when I'm actually going to stop doing this. I actually, even though I know that I'm mostly talking to myself, I kinda enjoy it at this moment. But that's okay. So yeah, as I was saying before, I've made the video about the Kapitein A and B, and the so-called KAD-line was in the Kapitein, Admiral and Diplomat. And yeah, also the Opel Senator that the KAD-line actually was succeeded by. And actually, as you can see, this was Opel's first luxury vehicle ever produced. As it was just even competing with brands such as Mercedes-Benz and Maybach, which is actually quite unheard of if you look at today's standards, because Opel doesn't even like compete with those brands anymore. I guess like the most recent vehicle you could compare to a Mercedes would be a really well optioned out maybe Opel Grandland, which is this vehicle. As you can see, it's starting from 37,000 to maybe a, I don't know, mercedes-benz GOA or something, which also would start at something like that. I think it starts at like 41,000 if I remember correctly. Oh, 51. Okay, so that's even like a base version. GOA is like a top version of Opel Grandland. So just even imagine that Opel competed with brands such as Mercedes and even like Horch, which was like also a very expensive manufacturer at the time. So yeah, that's kind of unique and bizarre to kind of think about. I will just put in the chat that if people have questions, they could always answer or just ask them. Okay, so I'm going to say place and ask your questions in the chat. Any going like that. So now people could also see like what we're doing here, even though it's like underneath this viewing stand, something, I don't know, this window. But yeah, in that video I also talked about like this was made between 1937 and 1939, and then after almost 25 years Opel even just like decided from, oh okay, let's just revive the name, as you can see here. And that's kind of unique in my opinion. That's like the same as Opel just like reviving the Kadett name in like 2020 or something after not being used for I think like the same period then. Kadett was made up until 93, so 26 years will be 2019, yeah. Well, actually, that makes me think about one thing: the Opel Manta GSE. Yeah, I find this actually. I'm not that big of a fan of electric cars. However, I do find this car very cool. I would love to see like a, I don't know, like a Kadett GSI or like GSE made into a GSE and something like that. That's really cool in my opinion. But yeah, like how sufficient, how capable is this? As you can see here, it only has 124 miles of range. Like how can you just even purchase a car like this and think, oh wow, this is such a cool car, and just be able to drive like 180 kilometers with it, I think. Yeah, and just even just reaching that when you're like driving normally, that's just really really sad in my opinion, and not that capable, and not that, I don't know, interesting for potential customers, I think. Oh yeah. the GSI brand will go defunct. Yeah, so this is actually just one part that I also have made a video about. I don't know exactly if I'm going to be yeah, just going to post it, as it is actually just a concept in like what I think about the electric and the electrification of the cars. So this actually just has like a part of it that I've talked about in that video as well, and that was that like yeah, Opel wants to go fully electric in 2028, and yeah, the GSI brand just getting replaced by the GSE is actually quite similar to what I've talked about in the video, I think. Oh no, that was called the GTE, that was the Kadett. Yeah. So let me just look if I could even find something about the GSI brand. I know for a fact that it is like for, well, here. So that was actually kind of strange in my opinion, that the Insignia A never received a GSI logo and brand and stuff like that. Even though it is still a Grand Sport injection. And in my opinion, that's just kind of strange, because they did have a they did have a OPC version for both of the vehicles. In my opinion, the Insignia A up until 2013 is the nicest model, and then of course the interior wise, the Insignia B is the nicest. Yeah, I just don't really like the fact that they've used like such a base model for this one, and not even like they didn't take a nicer looking model like this one here, but just took a base model. Well, actually it's not that base, because as you can see it has parking sensors and fog lights, and if I think about I think it has cloth seats as well. And you can see from these hubcaps, these are actually hubcaps, which is insane. There are like steel, just steel things under here as well. I think this is a business model of the Insignia. But I exterior wise, I like the Insignia A the most. Yeah, so this is the engine that I was talking about, the 2.8 liter V6 turbo. That actually became the 2 liter turbo with 260 horsepower in the Insignia B. And then I think, yeah, and at that point I'm thinking like, well, that's actually so kind of shitty that they had like a 2.8 liter with 325 horsepower. And I guess that, I know, like pollution and stuff like that, and you know, you have to like think about the gas mileage it gets and something like that, but still it's cool to have like a somewhat race car just hidden underneath. That's really cool. And I've always liked the way this dashboard was shaped. It's like so clean in my opinion, although I don't really would want a automatic transmission in this one. I do really like the wood trimmings in this one as well. I don't think that has been an option that was really choosable because not a lot of people did choose that option. Here, so the most powerful option would be the 2-liter turbo 4x4, which had 260 horsepower and 7.3 0 to 100, which actually is like a second slower to 100, which is like, yeah, kinda, like, I don't know. Yeah, so the Signum is actually one of the predecessors of the Insignia, and was actually like a rebranded Opel Vectra. And in my opinion, the 2.2 liter, yeah, this one, I have seen a video of this engine just having a mileage of over 1,000,000 kilometers. And if I remember correctly, the 1.9C DTI, you could also like easily tune up to 200, 220 horsepower, which is also quite cool. So that's actually kind of cool. And in my opinion, it's actually quite interesting for a potential business car. I've always just wondered about how Opel couldn't put out more power out of a 3-liter V6 turbo diesel, when at that time just BMW had a 3-liter diesel with 218 horsepower, which is like 32 horsepower more. But yeah, the Opel Signum eventually just disappeared because of the bad sales and stuff. Like 500 units a year at the peak is like really bad. And then if we compare that to the Vectra C, where's the Vectra? Here it is. So this is actually my car currently, the Vectra C. I really like it. I have a 2.2 liter from 2006. It is the Executive, which has the front sensors and leather seats, heated seats, navigation system as well. And I recently bought the most recent navigation pack for it. It's the CD70, and I have seen many people convert the CD70 to a DVD90, which even gets updates up until 2019, I think. But yeah, I don't really see myself doing that because I don't really see the benefit of doing that. But yeah, what I've also thought about the Vectra was that each generation precisely was 7 years in length. 1988 to 1995, 95 to 02, 02 to 09, well actually 09, because the cars were, they were made up until 2008, but as you can see here, 2009, because most of the vehicles that were made in 2008 also could be sold up until I think like halfway 2009, via dealerships and stuff like that. And at that point they were mostly like the more luxurious models and stuff like that. So that's cool. That's really cool in my opinion, and also quite unique. Because Opel with that really like somewhat showed like, oh, you know, this could have been the options. And as you can see here, the sales of the Vectra were much higher, like 10 times as much as the Signum, which actually is quite sad because I actually like the Signum, even though it's in my opinion like somewhat a deformed, overpriced Vectra. I really think it's still a cool version. It really is a cool car in my opinion. And actually yeah, just a bad marketing about the Signum, I think. But it's really just, in my opinion, really weird to see that after more than a year after the production, in 2010, still 27 units of the Vectra had been sold. So like these models were waiting for over a year. So that's kind of strange. And here is my here is my, no, that's the station, it's just the GTS here. The 2.2, so that's this one, yeah. 9.4 seconds 0 to 100 time, which is really, well, actually kind of okay. Yeah, it's really a fine car. It's doesn't have any problems yet so far, so that's I'm really happy with it. Yeah, actually, just like any other engine below the 2.2 liter is really like somewhat just really slow. For example, the 1.6 and the 1.8, 10.7 seconds is like really not something you could like get up with the current traffic and stuff like that. And so in my opinion, I really wouldn't recommend those engines except for the 1.8 with 140 horsepower, because that's okay, that's kind of okay. You know, 10.5 seconds really isn't that bad as well. And that's actually like, I think those engines are really quite reliable as well. So then I wouldn't like, if like speed wasn't a factor you needed to have in your car, then I would choose the 1.8 as well. Yeah, it's really reliable. Of course, it always has to depend on like how a car is maintained and how well the car is maintained. Yeah, that's kind of like the whole fact about it. And what in my opinion also is quite shocking was the Opel Cascada, which was like a cabriolet or version of the Insignia, actually like the Insignia. As you can see here, that's the Insignia front end and the Insignia rear, but just like a cabriolet with 2 doors. In my opinion, this could have been an awesome GTC concept, which, yeah, just really could have been so, yeah, just the GTC concept could have been such a cool car. However, this was made in 2006, I believe. And as you can see, it has a lot of factors that the Insignia later had. And used a lot of styling from, as you can see, the rear and also the front. The OPC versions really used a lot of from this. But sadly enough, the GTC never made it to production because of the economic crisis in 2007. There was just no demand for a sports coupe with that would have such a high price tag and stuff. However, I do find it a very cool car, and I actually believe that if somebody really has money, they could have an awesome base with an Opel Cascada for a homemade, somewhat homemade Opel GTC concept. Or even just like only put the body kit on and not even do anything about the roof. You could have an Opel GTC cabriolet concept, homemade. However, I would do something about the engine, because in my opinion it really is slow. 0 to 100 time of 9.2 seconds is really terrible in my opinion. Really strange that this, I don't know, only led to 9.2 0 to 100 time. So that's kind of strange. I think even the Insignia with the 2-liter turbo was much faster. Let me just see the weight of the vehicle. Can we see the weight anywhere? I don't know. I don't know actually. So yeah, it's really strange to see It's just like a somewhat Opel GTC concept, but made in a cabriolet way, and also kind of flopped in like 6 years. Only 38,000 units were made. Yeah, in my opinion, that's kind of interesting, but also kind of not shocking that it eventually failed when the Opel GTC didn't made it to production because of like the prices. I guess, if I remember correctly, Opel Cascada English. If I remember correctly, the Opel Cascada would have like a price tag of, I think, like 50,000 euros, which is like enormous. Simplewikipedia.org. No. Yeah, here it is. And yeah, so actually, in my opinion, that's kind of cool. It's like a more modern Opel GTC, but like without the coupe, but like into a cabriolet version. But what's strange is that this Wikipedia says that it's a 1.6 liter only, which could explain the only 200 horsepower. Because the 2 liter with the 200 horsepower would be like, I think like 220 horsepower, or like 200, but like that's from 2008 and to 2013, if I remember correctly, because the Opel Insignia A also used a 2 liter turbo with 200 horsepower. Yeah, if I remember correctly. Here the 2 liter turbo, you see 220, and the 1.6 turbo had 180. So I'm guessing that for the Dutch Wikipedia they made a mistake, because it isn't 2 liter turbo which made 200 horsepower. It's either a 1.6 turbo with more power than before. So that's kind of interesting. Yeah, and as you can see, the car had a weight of 1700 to 1800 kilos, which is like really incredible. Here, the 1.6 liter with 200 horsepower, so it isn't a 2 liter. Buick Cascada, Holden Cascada, really interesting. That's awesome. And also the orange indicators on the US market vehicles are just so terribly disgusting and ugly. It's really strange to see that the US has like such weird regulations when you could also have like a red rod on the road there with so much rust that you could even see like the bottom of the car, just not even seeing that part anymore. It's really strange in my opinion. It's a shame that they've replaced or never replaced Opel Cascada, and in my opinion it's also a shame that they even brought up this idea for people who don't have money or anything to spare for a navigation or an infotainment system. Yeah, however, I do think it could have a better lifetime if it was just maybe based on an Astra or something. I think, yeah, the Opel Astra also had that. I think that this was, oh yeah, it was the predecessor, the Opel Astra H twin top. In my opinion, also a kind of good looking car. Actually would have been cool if they've like really used a coupe version for this as well, even though they had the Astra GTC. But in my opinion that's more of a hatchback. I guess that is a hatchback as well, but it would have been cool if they had like a coupe version, just like the Opel Kadett used to have. yeah. And also it would have been cool if they had like the 2-liter with 240 horsepower, also in like the Insignia and the, I don't know, like the Cascada, I guess then. Yeah, it's such a lovely interior, and I've always liked the fact that they've always remained the same steering wheel in some way. Although sometimes I think that it's kind of outdated, just like the cluster gauge and stuff. And also the big amount of buttons I'm not really a fan of, because I like square buttons, and I think that if this would have been like a bit more square, something like that, it would have been better. And also if they got rid of this part here besides the screen, that's okay in my opinion. Besides that, this is really depressing. A GTC with hubcaps, when the GTC is even like somewhat a more expensive version. I really liked this design of these rims. They're one of my dream rims from Opel. And also the color, they have this color on the Insignia OPC as well, because it's the OPC color, and in my opinion it's one of the coolest colors you could have on the car, because it really shows that speed and power, and this I do not like. I think this is the 2-liter turbo because of the 2 exhausts, or I don't know if they did this after the Vectra, because, or no, the Insignia, because if you had the 1.6-liter turbo you would have 1 exhaust pipe, and if it's a 2-liter turbo on the Insignia you would have 2 exhaust pipes. So I'm guessing this is like a 2-liter turbo if they had that. I think it was this one, or a 1.6, it said B turbo. So I'm guessing it could have also been just a 1.6-liter turbo. That, in my opinion, also could have been. So that's kind of strange in my opinion, but okay, go off I guess. What I've always also found kind of strange was the fact that the Opel Insignia, or no, the Opel Astra sedan never was such a hit like the Opel Astra G was with the sedan, even though that wasn't a hit as well. But like why it never was delivered to the Netherlands, for example. And I think like the Chevy Malibu or something like that was like the direct car from a GM. Which could have like the same things or something, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it kind of like had the same design and stuff. I think they've also Chevrolet Vectra. Yeah, no, not this one. They've also. Yeah, so they've also renamed the Opel Astra to Chevrolet Vectra in Latin America. Here, as you can see here. And over there it was a bigger success than in Europe, if I remember correctly. Because this was the Vectra in Europe, it was the bigger version, which later became the Insignia, as you can see here. This was the Vectra we got in Europe, and this was the Vectra they would have in Latin America, which is quite interesting. I'm guessing that I have to make a video about that as well, because in my opinion the Opel Astra itself, this isn't really that recognizable as an Astra. except for the back. You could also always just like tell that it's an Astra. But yeah, I've always wondered why. Actually, recently I saw this vehicle, but I've always wondered why Opel just didn't have a mass production of like the sedan versions and stuff. And that it would take like all the way up to, I think, this generation after the H, like the J generation, for like saloons to even like more sort of become a thing. As you can see here, because this is more common than like the Astra G saloon and stuff. And in my opinion, I think the most successful sedan, because they didn't use a sedan version again for the H, would have been the Astra, I guess the G, or the F. As you can see here, this one is made a lot in my opinion, because you could still see a lot of these. But you could also have had the saloon of this one, and you could also see a lot of these. So I would say that like these two were the main best sellers for the saloons of the Astras. And then after that the Astra J would have been that, and then the H, and then after that they've stopped making saloons for the Astra, as they would have like only made hatchbacks and stuff like that. But yeah, back in the day they would have had many just like body type styles and stuff. So that's kind of interesting. And I've also always wondered why Opel never made an engine bigger than 2 liters available in the Astra, because they didn't do that with the Kadett as well, because the Kadett always would have had engines up to 2 liters. Just the Kadett E then. Actually all the Kadetts would have had engines up to 2 liters. And like the Kadett C had engines up to 1.9 liters. The Kadett E would have engines up to 1.8 liters, you can see here, and was also the first Kadetts to have diesel engines, which I believe was taken from Isuzu, because that was also part of General Motors at the time, and delivered like, I don't know, 54 horsepower or something, just like the diesel engines would have had in the Volkswagen Golf and Polos. In my opinion, this is quite a somewhat timeless design, because it's really cool to consider this car being new in 1979. I wouldn't say this car would be introduced in 1979. I would have said like, I don't know, like somewhere halfway early 1980s at least. So yeah, then the Kadett E would have had engines up to 2 liters, and then after this one also had bigger diesels like the 1.7 with 57 horsepower, and the first diesel with a turbo, the 1.5 turbo, which had 75 horsepower if I remember correctly, which is actually quite strange actually, because the Opel Senator actually had which was like Opel's flagship for the 90s. The Opel Senator had a 2.3 liter diesel between 1987 and 1989, so for 3 model years. And in 1987 that diesel had was actually increased up to 90 horsepower from 85 horsepower that the Senator A had. And that actually was increased up to 90, and then in 90 or in 88 and 89 it was increased to 100. So it's kind of strange to like see that a 1.5 liter could have 75 horsepower, but a 2.3 liter would have like only have 100 horsepower, when like a 3 liter diesel would have had like 150 horsepower. So it's kind of strange. And yeah, then we have the Chevrolet Kadett as well. In my opinion, also a very interesting car, because as you can see here, it's from General Motors in Brazil, or General Motors do Brasil. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not sure. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. But yeah, they made the Kadett 4 years later, and they've entered production all the way up until 1998 with like many different exterior parts and stuff of the car. Really interesting, because as you can see, the bumpers have changed and other lights, and I remember correctly the interior. Here, this was the original. And that, as you can see here, had a version of the original integrated grille, but this one was made up until 1996. From 1989, the year that actually this one was replaced, they've started to use this one in Brazil, so that's actually quite interesting. And then we have the facelift model that was built until 1998, which is actually like a somewhat deformed GSI in my opinion. Yeah, this one you can see it's like starting to deform from a Kadett. Oh, so they've called the Kadett station wagons the Chevrolet Panamas. So that's kind of interesting. Which, as you can see, it's just really a Kadett. It's really interesting. And what's also interesting is that they would like call this a Kadett in Brazil as well. So like the Portuguese pronunciation of Kadett was also like kind of funny. I know that the Daewoo also had a Le Mans, and Pontiac also had the what was it called again? Pontiac Grand Prix or Pontiac Le Mans. So here, as you can see, it's just like a Kadett. The only main difference with the Kadett would have been, I guess, like the window here and the third brake light here. The rest is all a Kadett. And Daewoo, because Daewoo was also part of General Motors at the time. I think Daewoo didn't made it up until today. I think that the brand was like integrated into another brand. Here defunct 22 years ago, but then this is the logo from 2002. Let me just see. Yeah, here. It was renamed to GM Korea, so it isn't a brand on its own anymore. But at the end of the period, it was also just like mostly rebranded vehicles, so that's kind of understandable. But yeah, as you can see here, the Daewoo built the Kadett as well from 1986 to 1997, so also 4 to 6 years after the original Kadett was made. And this actually brings me to an idea. Let me just note that as well. Like, I would like to make a video about this as well, with like in depth and stuff. That would have been like quite cool in my opinion. Let me just look at that. Oh, here. The Opel Kadett by different car brands. So yeah, this was made up until 97 or up until 2016. I don't know what that's about, but that's interesting. The GMT platform. Made up until 2016, damn. That's awesome actually, that's really interesting. Ah, so it was used for the Astras as well. Okay. Chevrolet Viva. Ah, it's just a rebranded Astra. Saturn Astra. Okay, well that's cool actually. Okay. But yeah, the Daewoo Le Mans Asuna. That's interesting. Yeah, the Daewoo was mostly just powered by 1.5 liters, you could see here. It is actually quite strange that no information, however, is put here. And at first it actually somewhat looked like a Kadett, as you could see here. This was a pre-facelift version, I believe, yeah. Oh yeah, here. And then it looked like this. They should have never done this. Asuna was, I believe, a car brand only made for Canadian purposes and stuff. But as you could see, you could still see somewhat of the Kadett in it as well. As you could see the body lines and stuff. However, the bumpers and just the lights and the front end and rear end just were like changed. And then eventually also had the Daewoo Racer, which was like kind of different. As you can see here, the bumper looked like the bumper from the Le Mans, and then you also have the Daewoo Nexia. It's called the Cielo. You also have the here it is, the Nexia. I believe this was made up until the early 2000s, so that's kind of interesting. You can still see the rear arch body line of the Kadett and the window and just like the whole design. Is this? Oh, this is interesting. That's cool. This is cool. So this was made up until 2016 in Uzbekistan. That's awesome actually. That's really interesting. That's actually quite cool. Yeah. So the cars weren't like successes as the other vehicles, but they were like mostly used in other parts of the world, such as Russia, Romania, just like the Middle East as well. Okay, that's cool. I really like the fact that the third braking light was also like a part of the Vectra as well. The Vectra had the same braking light here as the Insignia, and that's kind of cool in my opinion. I like these rims. I don't know why I like these rims, but in some way I do. It's like the simplicity of it that really, yeah, I don't know, just like interests me. And some way this really like freaks me out seeing this, because it's like normally it's like a bigger sized screen. And like seeing this small size or this poverty spec, like the base spec, Insignia is also like kinda, I don't know, scare me. And I've always liked the Buick Regal because of the front grille, even though it's like 101 an Insignia. I've always liked the front grille of the Regal because it's really like classy in my opinion. And what's also quite strange is to know that I guess for I believe 2 years they've named the Insignia the Vectra in Southern America, which is also quite interesting. And after that, the Vectra name never was used again by Opel or anything GM related. In my opinion, the Insignia A, as I told earlier, is the most interesting car in my opinion, and the nicest looking because of the front lights. Well, the front lights didn't really change that much. It was mostly the rear lights that changed. In my opinion, I didn't like the striping going through the rear light. Although I still find the car quite attractive, I just never liked the direct chrome stripe just flowing over into a reverse light. And also the fact that I did like this model as well because of the sharp lines and the nose, and I've always liked the fact that they've used a big grille for the car. However, I really didn't like the fact that it was sold. I don't know if it's sold as a hatchback anymore. And this is one of my dream cars, the GSI. It's beautiful with the striping and the rims and the body kits on this as well. Beautiful. Yeah, the Buick Regal. And actually Holden was stopped and doesn't produce vehicles anymore since 2020, I believe. And this is the Buick Regal now from China. It doesn't look anything like the Insignia anymore. And this was, oh yeah, this was the original concept of the Opel Insignia at the IAA in 2003, which would have been like 5 years before the original Insignia was released. Which is kind of cool because at this time the Vectra was just even fresh. It was the first production year or the second production year of the Vectra. So to even think about a successor of the Vectra already, when like the first year that the Vectra was made was just done, and Opel would already start to think about another vehicle just being the successor of the Vectra is crazy. It's really, really interesting. But yeah, that's mostly everything I have to say, I think. I don't know. I think from now on I'm going to be planning the streams more often. And just like planning it a few days beforehand so people could really like yeah, just know when the stream is like going and when it's going live and stuff like that. But for now, if you're watching this back, thank you for watching the stream. I appreciate it. And if you're watching this right now, I appreciate it. Thank you for watching the first stream. Yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll do some research right now to when my viewers are mostly online and stuff like that, and yeah, just like when people are online to like kinda get to know when it's the best time to, yeah, just stream. And I will plan in another stream soon. So yeah, you will be hearing from me. Okay, bye bye. And don't forget to watch my other